Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host for the night, Shane Barrett. We are on the RotoHeat Fantasy YouTube channel. So if you can, hit that like and subscribe button, turn the little bell on, do all the things so when we go live, you will know. I am joined tonight by fellow RotoHeaters, Rob Sullivan, who you guys know as Sully, and the one and only, looking fresh as ever, Craig Reith. Sully, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. I'm feeling underdressed. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of want to run and get a better shirt on, but hey, I'm happy to be here. Always good to be with you guys.
Absolutely. Craigie, how you doing?
I'm less tired than last week, which is good. We'll see if I can remember things like team matchups and everything better than that. But
Okay.
Busy day, nice day outside here in southeastern Wisconsin. So kids are tired, and hopefully we'll be free of them for some football talk tonight.
Nice. I feel that. I am also feeling a little better than I was last week. Throat's not hurting, not nearly as sleepy, so we're ready to rock and roll. And my ADHD is clearly in full force, though, because I'm just sitting here tossing this baseball back and forth, not even thinking about it. And we've got our first question, so let's go ahead and jump it right into it, boys. Mike Williams or Puka Nacua in full PPR? Craig, kick us off.
I know that Puka Nacua is the big, cool new thing, and I just still have trepidation about it. We've seen a lot of guys be one-hit wonders, and I'm not saying he'll necessarily just be that. We see guys come in for 1 week or a couple weeks and have a great time and then sort of disappear. And looking at it, certainly we know that offense of the Chargers, get it right this week, really had a big game in the prior week when they played the Dolphins, and had the schedule up, and I'm trying to see they're playing Tennessee. And the way that you beat Tennessee is through the air. It's not on the ground. Tennessee has a great run defense, as someone mentioned last week, and that did prove out against the Saints. I'm still going Mike Williams here. He's the more known commodity, and I don't blame people for starting Puka Nacua, but I need to see more than 1 week before I anoint him as the next big thing.
Yep. Sully, what about you?
Traded Puka Nacua this week for a 2024 second-round pick, and I felt as though that was a win because I drafted him with the 410 in this most recent rookie draft. So that being said, really like him. Think he's kind of fun. I think it's a little bit of a different ball game, pun intended, playing against the San Francisco 49ers and that defense than it is against a little bit of a beat-up Seattle defense. So I think that he's going to have his work cut out for him, as is the rest of his offense. So not a huge Mike Williams guy, but all Mike Williams has to do is hit one deep, and he probably is the right pick this week. So Mike Williams for me, please.
Yep, I am right there with you guys. Puka also ended up on the injury report at least midweek. I don't know what that ended up being, if he ended up getting off of the injury report, but it's just something to monitor as well. Yeah, I don't remember, but Mike Williams is my answer here too, especially with Ekeler being out. And like Craig said, you beat Tennessee through the air. Mike Williams seems like it.
All right there. I hope Shada is still alive.
I'm still alive. Can you still hear
me?
Okay.
Well, the host is down.
Holy cow. My mic fell off my desk. But we're good. Yeah. So Mike Williams is the answer here. Hello, Marco. And before I move on to the next question, I do want to say, Marco, huge fan. But also, we are going to be getting to all of your questions as they come through. If you want to, for us to get to them faster, super chat us. But other than that, we're going to go through these as they come through. DM us either on Twitter or send us a link for your lineups, and we'll review those as well. With that being said, next question. Akers, James Cook, Josh Kelley with Ekeler out. I'll start this one off. I'm going Kelley. I am not a huge James Cook fan. He scored about 10 PPR points last week, if I remember correctly, which was about what he was projected for. But I'm going Josh Kelley here just because he did have 16 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown last week, and Ekeler is out. So I'm leaning that way. What about you, Sully?
I think I am going to go James Cook here. To Craig's point earlier about the Titans' run defense, I think it's legit. I'm kind of off of Cam Akers until he proves me wrong. So I'll go with James Cook. I think the Raiders aren't the worst thing in the world that could happen to him, and he could score easily. So I'll go with him. How about you, Craig?
Yeah, we talk about matchups. Cam Akers wasn't the best running back on his team last week, and they're, like we mentioned with Puka, facing the 49ers, who are just one of the elite defenses still in the NFL at this point. So it's hard to trust a guy that might not even be the guy going up against a good defense. James Cook really isn't exciting, but you sort of know what you're going to get out of him.
Yeah.
And I don't know with Kelley that, we mentioned the run defense thing, but, with that offense, they aren't dumping the ball off a ton to the running backs anymore. So it's not like they're going to be getting a ton of PPR points, or they're probably not playing from behind in that game with what we saw at Tennessee in the prior week for their offense. So James Cook feels like the safest option to me. If I needed to have an upside play, I guess it would be Kelley.
Cool. So 2 for Cook, 1 for Kelley. All right, Dak Prescott or Jordan Love, leading more with Jordan Love. If this is 1 QB, Craig, I'll throw it to you first. What do you think?
Cowboys fan here, full disclosure, but I am playing Jordan Love. Dak is fine. They didn't have to play him a whole lot last week in terms of making him do anything. And this week he's going to have a much tougher matchup. I mean, that Jets defense is still for real. We saw what they did against Josh Allen. They were really good last year. That secondary is still one of the best in the NFL when you look at what they have. And I don't think they're going to try to rely on Dak again. That Falcons defense is much more inviting for Jordan Love, and he might not be called upon to do a lot either. They leaned on the running game, and I think they're going to have to lean on A.J. Dillon this week with Aaron Jones and situation with him. So give me Jordan Love with better matchup against the defense, and fantasy-wise, he's played better this year for us.
Yeah. Sully, what about you?
I really wish my dog would shut up, but other than that, I'm going to go with Jordan Love here. I don't really know what to make of Dak and the Cowboys. I really didn't get a whole lot of a sample size. None of us did, right? Like the game was over before it started. And maybe I just got a little bit of a Hard Knocks hangover, but I'm kind of a closet Jets fan right now. Really like that team, especially like the defensive side of the football. They've had some adversity on offense, but Jordan Love did what he needed to do. He didn't do a whole lot more last week, and I think he does that again this week. I do think Atlanta's got a better defense, but if I'm just going to go stacking it up defense to defense, the Jets are a vastly superior squad. So I think Jordan Love can throw for 250 and 2 here and end up scoring more fantasy points than Dak. So I'll go with Love.
Yeah, right there.
Cool. I will stick with Love too, and I'm here now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good. I thought I lost you guys.
Internet connection problems. Testing 1, 2, 3. You got me?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. No, my internet's not behaving right now, so we will move on to the next question. I think I got you guys back now. Cool. All right. Trey S. Evening, gents. Full PPR start to Garrett Wilson, Michael Pittman, Elijah Moore, Rashad White, Javonte Williams, or James Cook. Thanks and good luck this week. Good luck to you too, Trey. I'll go first, so maybe my internet won't crap out. I'm going Michael Pittman. Who's Denver play? Washington?
Yep.
I think I'm going Pittman and Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is scary because his splits with Zach Wilson are not great. But Zach Wilson did look better last week once he did come in. So I'm going to go Garrett Wilson and Michael Pittman here. Sully, what about you?
Man, this one's tough. I was poo-pooing Michael Pittman Sunday morning last week, and I ate that crow. So why don't I just jump on that bandwagon and go with Pittman here? And I think I'll go with Rashad White. I don't think the Bears are that stout, and White should still see the bulk of the work. So I'm going to go there. How about you, Craig?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The same thing with Rashad White. I mean, if we're expecting him to do anything, this is a week where he's got to do it after what the Packers were able to do in the run game against the Bears last week.
Yeah, I think so.
Wilson scares me going against that Dallas defense. I think they're going to look to shut him down. Javonte Williams, I'd like if there wasn't that split, but there's still that split. There's no reason for them to just completely rely on him as a workhorse, so I don't think they're going to. And we already talked about James Cook and how he's splitting work, and he's maybe a safe option, but with these many different options, I don't think you have to go with the safe one necessarily.
Agree.
Marco, always providing for us. Tank Dell, Sky Moore, Jaden Reed, Kyle Pitts, Justice Hill, Justin Tucker, I'm guessing. Start one for my flex. Craig, I'm throwing this one to you first, buddy.
I'm looking it up now, but do we know if is Christian Watson out or presumed out again?
Still questionable last I saw, but I haven't looked that much today.
Yeah, among 4 Packers, that's questionable, something like that. Blah. Tank Dell, I don't think you can really count on. Sky Moore, after what we saw, I don't know how you just start him unless you just completely are, hoping for a breakout game and you need it. Justice Hill, he's going to split carries, and I know he got 2 touchdowns or something last week, but he didn't have a whole lot of work, and he's splitting work. Is it Sean Tucker again?
Sean Tucker, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I'm dumb.
Second running back after Rashad White. It's Jaden Reed or Kyle Pitts for me, and I like more what I saw out of that Packers passing game than what I saw out of the one for the Falcons. Somewhere I read that the Falcons had 39 passing yards through 3 quarters or something last week, and I don't know that's going to be that bad again, but it's really hard to just trust one of the receivers there with what we saw last week. So give me Jaden Reed.
So are you going to make this any easier for us?
I was kind of hoping it was Justin Tucker. Then it might be a little easier. It's Kyle Pitts for me, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense other than I'll just take the best player here and hope that they figure it out sooner rather than later. So that it's not a great answer. Marco, he's in the future. He can answer his own questions. So we'll go
right.
with that.
For someone who's from the future, you have a lot of questions, Marco. I'm actually going Kyle Pitts here too. Don't think, like Craig said, you can't trust Tank Dell yet. You can't trust any Kansas City pass catchers named Sky Moore or Kadarius Toney. Jaden Reed, if Watson is out, I think Reed is actually the answer. But if Watson is playing, then it's Pitts. Justice Hill, I actually think Gus Edwards is going to be the kind of lead horse in that backfield. And yep. Sean Tucker, I love him, but I'm not ready to start him yet. So,
it's a great stash. I agree with that one.
That is my thoughts. All right, Tony Snow, hello. And then is Romeo Dobbs a good replacement for D-Hop this week? Absolutely. I think so. What about you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Dobbs is still going to be on a pitch count or not, but it seems to be the snaps that he did have were the important ones. So he scored twice, and Love's been reportedly looking at him all camp. So, and it leaked into the early season. So yeah, I like him a lot.
Yep. Marco again, Burns or Bosa? Craig, I'm going to defer to you on this one because I love both of them. I'm assuming it's Nick Bosa.
Yeah, Joey Bosa is banged up, and they're not even sure if he's going to play. If it's Joey Bosa, certainly I'm going to go with Brian Burns here. If it's Nick Bosa, they're going against the Rams. Who still do not completely have a competent offensive line. It looked a little bit better than it did last year. But Nick Bosa has eaten against them before, and even last week, that defensive line, the whole defense, but mainly the defensive line for the 49ers, it was something like 28 quarterback pressures or something like that. And Nick Bosa didn't do a whole lot, but he is going to. He's one of those guys. He didn't do any of the training camp stuff while he was working on the contract. He got it right before the game. Coming off emotions, all that sort of stuff. He didn't do a whole lot, but he's going to have his games, and you just can't sick Nick Bosa. So it's him for me.
Yeah, I don't know how. Who the heck? Do you only start one D lineman? This is a heck of a.
There's a lot of different league types out there.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about IDP, but it's Bosa for me because I just love watching that guy play. He is unreal.
Yeah. No, I wasn't trying to bash Marco there. These are two of my favorite defensive ends, so I think you're good either way, but Bosa is the answer.
I just like IDP questions where I actually knew who the people were in the question. Pretty excited today.
Yeah. Mars flows back. Christian Kirk or AJ Dillon. This looks like for their flex and full PPR. Sully, who you taking?
Yeah, I'm just taking a quick peek to see who the Jags are playing, and it's Kansas City. I'm going to go with Christian Kirk. There was a little bit of rumblings that they'll get Kirk going, and I just think that he's too talented of a wide receiver, contract or no contract, to just be all of a sudden the third option or fourth option in that offense. I think we're going to have some ebb and flow in the Jags offense all year long, and when you have that many, learn to talk, when you have that many talented pass catchers in an offense, I think some guys are going to have good weeks and bad weeks. And I'll go with Christian Kirk this week. No knock on A.J. Dillon. I do understand that Aaron Jones is most likely out, but I still like Christian Kirk. I think he scores.
Got it. Craig.
Yeah, I really want to know about Aaron Jones. If he doesn't play, I'm going A.J. Dillon there, just because of the way that we saw him play. But if they're both playing, PPR makes me more interested in Kirk because this very well could be a shootout. That Jags offense, I think, is going to be right up there because they actually have legitimate NFL, closer to top tier, we'll say, than Calvin Ridley was last week, right up there in the top tier, receivers compared to what the Chiefs have. But Travis Kelce's back. That opens up a lot of other things for those receivers on that Chiefs offense, and you could be in for a shootout. So I'm not opposed to Kirk, but if there's still a lot of uncertainty about Aaron Jones or stuff with him on a snap count, give me A.J. Dillon because I think the Packers are going to continue to try to keep pressure off of Jordan Love.
I like that. I think I'm going to go A.J. Dillon here just because I'm hoping that the narrative of Zay Jones can stay alive for one more week with the Jaguars. So, and I do think that game's going to be a shootout. That's a very big matchup in our house.
It's your new team, isn't it?
Yeah, as you guys both know, that's my new favorite team, and my wife and both of my daughters are Chiefs fans, so we got a rough weekend this weekend in the house. Luckily, my wife's got COVID, so I don't have to look at her if they win. Next one, let's plant some trees. Kyren Williams, Cam Akers, Kendre Miller, or Charbonnet this week in PPR. Before I get to this answer or pass it off to you guys, do you know if Kendre Miller is healthy?
It's not questionable. I think he did get in a limited practice yesterday.
Okay.
You guys chat, I'll look.
And then also look Charbonnet for me, please. Craig, we've talked about kind of the matchup that the Rams are dealing with here. Does that make Kyren Williams or Cam Akers startable for you in general this week?
I mean, potentially, yeah. Who did the Rams play? They played Seattle last week because I'm trying to pull up the stats here because I do not have this memorized.
Miller is, I'll just jump in. Miller is questionable, and Charbonnet has no distinction, so he'll be good to go.
Okay. Seahawks play who?
They play, I knew the answer. They play Detroit in Detroit.
Okay.
I honestly have a hard time picking any of these guys because Charbonnet didn't do squat last week behind Kenneth Walker. You have the two guys from the Rams who Akers got way more of the carries, and all that compared to Williams, but Williams did way better. And then Kendre Miller, Saints couldn't do anything rushing last week without him. I don't think he's going to come in and completely change that. So just by going off the one that had the better week before, and I think we'll probably get a little bit more attention, give me Kyren Williams, but it's not like I feel great about it.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning to, and I think it's mainly because, and again, super small sample size. I think Stafford targeted the backs twice last week. It was Williams both times. I kind of have this thought that Sean McVay hates Cam Akers and only gives him viable touches when he's the only option they have left on that team, and that's what we saw at the end of last year. But anytime he has any other options, he's going with those options. I love Zach Charbonnet, but I don't know what the heck they're doing in terms of usage in Seattle. And I really like Kendrick Miller too, but questionable coming back. He's going to be behind Williams, even if he does play. Arguably probably their best back, but until we see it, I can't start it. So I'm going to piggyback off Craig here and hold my nose and grab Kyren Williams here and hope for the best.
And something else I forgot to mention about Charbonnet, because this affects all of them. I think Seattle lost both their starting tackles.
I know at least Charles Cross is out.
Just terrible for that whole offense. So
yeah,
you're right. Cross is out, and the other one's on IR. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to go Kendrick Miller here, just because Atlanta was able to run all over Carolina last week. So I'm going to hope that New Orleans can figure out something in the run game with a new running back available and go Kendrick Miller here. But I like Kyren Williams is easily my second choice, because if the game goes like we think it is, he was the one getting the targets. Cam Akers had 0. I think he only had 2, but he was getting the targets out of the backfield. So give me Kyren Williams as the backup play if Kendrick Miller can't go for whatever reason. Marco from the future, Brisker, Duggar, Holland, sit one. Craig, this is all you.
Yeah, let me go back to my matchups here. Sorry, folks. So Miami, I know they have an interesting match. New England, and then Duggar, of course, is playing Miami. So those two are with each other, and then Brisker with the Bears against Tampa Bay.
Well, so much for me knowing who everybody is in the IDP questions. I know 67% of these guys.
Why don't you, Shane, just go to the next question quick while I look up something on these guys?
Sure. So next one is a hypothetical. Can the Jets please trade for Kirk Cousins?
Ouch.
Yeah, that one hurts. Literally.
So I kind of looked at this. So Vikings fan, 0-2. We need to rebuild. Ownership refuses to let us. I think when I looked this up, the only viable way to trade Kirk Cousins to the New York Jets is if you trade him for Aaron Rodgers. I think it's the only way you make the money work. So,
what does Kirk's contract look like?
Well, he's 40 with 40 something this year with 30 and change dead cap. So, he's a boat anchor this year, and so is Rodgers. Right? Rodgers restructured and kicked the can down a road a year. So, I don't know how either one of these teams would make that work, but I would love it if Kirk went to New York. I think it would be fun. But Rodgers is talking about doing some crazy ass weird, plasma injections and voodoo crap and coming back for the playoffs. So
did you see the tweet? I will not reference the tweet because it's slightly inappropriate, but did you see the tweet about Rodgers and Dolphins? That's all I'm going to say.
I did not.
Okay.
Can you tell me who tweeted it?
I think it was like MPA football or something like that.
Okay.
I'll find it and send it to you.
Okay.
It's weird. I'm just going to put that out there, people. It was weird. All right,
Man,
Craig, let me know when we can circle back to that IDP question. I'm going to move on to the next one. All right, PPR traded away my flex Montgomery and Sutton for DJ Moore. Thoughts? Did I win this trade or lose, or was it lateral move from Captain Bear Down? Sully, you're an NFC North guy. What do you think?
Yeah. Format matters here, right? But just in a vacuum, I think we gave up a bit much. I'm higher on Sutton than most people, and I think Montgomery is in a really good spot this year. And we saw that with Williams last year in Detroit. Don't think Montgomery's going to score 17 touchdowns, but if he scored 10 to 12, I wouldn't be surprised. And I really like DJ Moore, and I think he will obviously get going in that offense. But that's a bit expensive for me, unfortunately.
I think I agree. I will say it's like it's a bad loss. It's probably more of a lateral move for me than anything. I think at their peak, Sutton and Moore are probably a lot closer than people necessarily want to admit. But I like both of them. But with the way that Montgomery played and the role that he could potentially have being the Jamal Williams from last year, I agree. 17 touchdowns is unreasonable, but 10 to 12 I don't think is significantly out of the realm of possibilities. So it just feels like it's a little expensive for DJ Moore, especially with the way that he played. But you're a Bears fan. I'm a former Panthers fan and just a DJ Moore fan in general. Go get DJ Moore. I don't blame you on that one.
Totally agree. I'm a huge go get your guy fan. So if that's what this trade is, good on you. Well done. Totally agree.
Craig, anything to add, or are you still researching?
No, I'm good. I mean, if that's your guy, I'm fine going to get it. You'd have to probably think on that offensive one there. Yeah. That they went and got DJ Moore. Although supposedly he was not their first option. Again, allegedly, from what I was reading, the Bears asked for Brian Burns, and the Panthers said no. And they asked for Derek Brown. So that's a defensive tackle they drafted in the first round a while ago.
War Eagle, baby.
Panthers said no to that, but they said yes to DJ Moore, which I find interesting, but whatever.
It is interesting.
You think if they went out and they got him to be their main guy there in Chicago, they're going to have to change some stuff and focus on him, and that better days are ahead. Sutton, as much as I've liked him, and I've been on the Sutton side of the Jerry Jeudy Sutton fights over the years, neither one of them has really won.
I like both.
Neither one's really won it. And Montgomery, I do like, especially being there with the Lions, but Gibbs is going to end up eating into that work. So if DJ Moore's your guy, it's a fine trade.
Yeah.
And back to the IDP one. So Javon Holland clearly won last week. All these guys played about 100%. Holland and Duggar were 100% snap shares on defense. Brisker was like 97%. But Holland's stats were inflated by just that complete shootout that they were in against the Chargers. Brisker and Duggar both had relatively similar stat lines. I'm going to go with Duggar on this one because they had explosive offense that he's facing against the Dolphins, and they're going to be continuing to try to do that against the Patriots, where the Patriots, as much more efficient as that offense was without Matt Patricia there, no surprise to anyone, they are still not, explosive downfield. So that's not how Javon Holland is used, mainly up close to the line of scrimmage and all that sort of stuff. So give me Kyle Duggar with more of those secondary opportunities. But all three of these are amazing options to have.
So you're sitting one. Which one would you sit? Is it Duggar?
Brisker, because I don't think that game's going to be as explosive as the other one has the potential to be.
Got it. All right. Marco confirmed it was Sean Tucker. Marco, I'm sorry for thinking it was Justin Tucker. I don't know what I was thinking. I hate kickers, so.
Love kickers.
Oh, boy. Wait till you get to your wife's in the chat, apparently.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to get to there. Lex plants some trees again. Pick 2 in PPR. DJ Moore, Khalil Herbert, Rashad White, Breece Hall, and Christian Watson. Craig, start us off.
Not a whole lot of interest in Watson. Even if he plays, that if he hamstring scares me, and I don't think they have any reason to rush him. DJ Moore, I still just have a hard time picking him to play off of what we saw. Again, I think better days are coming, and he's going against a worse secondary than what the Packers had. Breece Hall's an easy start for me out of this group. Is what he showed. And then
leaves Herbert or White.
Yeah, and they're playing against each other. I don't want to go Khalil Herbert facing that defensive front of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So give me Rashad White and Breece Hall.
Sully, what you thinking?
Man, I poo-pooed Breece Hall like crazy last week. And
I poo-pooed him all off season.
Yeah, and I've been telling everybody who will listen to me, which is probably about 3 or 4 people now, to fade him and to not do it. And I'm still there. I still think he's going to be on a pitch count. I think Salah wants to keep him fresh. I think the Cowboys' defense is legit. So I'm going to try to avoid him here. I'm going to stick with Rashad White, who I had in the earlier question. And if the Bucks play the Bears like they played the Vikings, there's going to be a lot of room in the middle of the field for DJ Moore, and that's where he does his best work, and that's where Justin Fields does his best work too. So I'm going to go with DJ Moore and Rashad White.
So just to confuse you even more, Alex, I'm going to go DJ Moore and Breece Hall. Now my Sully reminded me that they're playing the Cowboys, and the Cowboys defense looked amazing. But Breece Hall is probably their second best offensive player right now, behind Garrett Wilson, and I think they're going to have to lean on that run game a little more than they were expecting to, and I think DJ Moore bounces back. So that's my thoughts there. Sorry, Lex, that probably wasn't helpful. Marco,
well, I think if he takes the 2 Breece Halls and the 2 JJ Moores, that's his answer, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Marco, alternate future. Brady played baseball for the Expos.
Yep.
Did he win as many championships?
No.
We already got that one. All right. My wife is in the chat saying I need you to check my lineup when you get a chance. Babe, go on Sleeper. Go to your team. Right under your name, I think there's a little arrow button that you can hit share and send that to me on Twitter or in our text messages, and we'll go through it on the show. And she said, rude, because I didn't have to look at her if the Chiefs win. Sorry, babe. Rivalries happen.
I'm cheering for the Chiefs now because of that crap, just so you know.
Marco, Ramondre Stevenson, Scam Akers, Elijah Mitchell, Zamir White, Isaiah Spiller, Breida, start 2. I'll start this one off. Breida, I'm not touching. Spiller, I'm not touching. Stevenson's automatic. Oh, God. Do you have to start Stevenson and Cam Akers? Yeah. No, I'm going Stevenson and Mitchell because I think that game's going to get ugly. Hopefully the 49ers will get to a point where CMC doesn't have to play and Mitchell will get some run. So those are my thoughts. What about you, Craig?
I feel just based off of what we've seen, you kind of got to go with the usage stuff. Stevenson agreed is the obvious one, but as much as I don't want to, Cam Akers got the volume last week. I haven't heard anything where they're saying, oh, we're just completely going with Kyren Williams. That game got to be a blowout with Pittsburgh last week, and Elijah Mitchell got 5 carries and 1 target. And we already sort of saw what we're thinking might happen again this week with the 49ers. Just based on volume, I got to go with Cam Akers and just hope he gets a touchdown or something out of it this week.
So, Craig, I need to rebuttal you, but I'm going to let Sully go first while I'm building my rebuttal.
Cool. Ramondre Stevenson, as my smart colleagues have alluded to, is an easy one here. And we have finally hit, it's not the Mendoza line, but it's the Cam Akers line. Like we finally hit where I'm starting Cam Akers. I'm not starting Mitchell. I'm not starting Zamir White. I'm not starting Spiller, and I'm not rostering Breida. So I will go with Cam Akers and Ramondre Stevenson. Did I give you enough time?
Yeah. So my rebuttal, Craig, is you keep mentioning that Akers got all the volume. Akers had 22 carries. Kyren had 15 and 2 targets. Akers had 0. So it was 17-22. So.
Yeah, it's still more.
The way I'm hearing it, the way you're wording it, is that like Akers got like 30 carries and
the more I meant it, I know I'm being a smart, but I'm talking about out of the options that he has here, by far he got the most volume outside of Stevenson. I mean, it's not he might have got more volume than all of the rest of them combined.
I was just about to say that if you added up Mitchell to this way, it touches. I think it pales.
Is Breida even rosterable at this point?
No.
Like, I don't even know what team he's playing for right now.
He's a Giant.
He's the backup to the Giants. I don't think Eric Gray was even active last week. So, I mean,
no,
if you're in a
Bradbury was, I believe.
Got it.
Well, there you go. It shows you how much I'm paying attention. But
it doesn't matter, right? Like, with all due respect, we go that deep, it don't matter.
Yeah. All right. Kenny Stay Trill, pick 2, full PPR, Mostert, White, Flowers, London, Pacheco, Shaheed, Nakua. Sully, start us off.
Man, I want to say Drake London. I just can't. Say Flowers, I'd like to say, and I might. Help me out. Miami, New England. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to just stick with Rashad White because I've been picking him everywhere so far. It's not Pacheco for me. It's not Nakua, and it's not Shaheed. So I'm down to Mostert, Flowers, London. New England. Craig, New England's still pretty good against the run.
I honestly don't know about this year. I mean, they're probably better than people think. I mean, that defense as a whole is generally if you look at year by year, better than people think. But
yeah, I think the Bengals kind of want to bounce back, so that Ravens game's tough for Zay. You know what? Screw it. I am going to say Drake London, and the only reason I'm going to say it is because even though the passing game was pretty horrific last week and Ritter didn't really do anything and London only saw one target, that's the fifth game that those guys have played together for. Holy, can't talk. I'm used to mornings, not nights. For the previous 4 games that London and Ritter played, London was his man, excelled, did fairly well. So I'm going to take the upside of Drake London here, and don't kill me if I'm wrong.
To answer your question, Sully, I thought I knew, and I didn't want to say it without looking it up, about the run defense of the Patriots. They pretty much as you can, shut down the Eagles last week. They had 25 carries as a team for 97 yards, which is low for the Eagles. So
yeah, so I'll stick with White and London and hope for the best. What are you doing?
Yeah, Craig, what you got?
Zay Flowers, just from what we've seen out of him, even if Mark Andrews is back, I don't think it just completely eliminates Zay Flowers. I think some of the tertiary options get eaten up with that. And this is where I might go with, it sounds so hard in my mind to spit this out, but Puka Nacua, just because I think that they are going to have to be throwing the ball a lot to keep up with the 49ers, and you just might get that target volume. I don't expect him to necessarily have the same sort of week he had last week, but I feel better about the Rams passing attack than I do the Falcons passing attack.
So. Oh, I can't argue that. Hey, do you think Puka leads them in targets? Like, are you buying Tutu Atwell at all?
I think that for what Matt Stafford is looking for, right away on the play, I think there's a really good shot Puka does lead them in targets again this week.
I agree.
If they're throwing a lot, Tutu could be a perfectly fine play too. And I know a lot of people are on Tyler Higbee. I was one of them. Sully, I traded you for him as my Travis Kelce replacement, and it felt gross. But sometimes you got to do gross stuff.
I got a lot of Higbee that felt pretty gross last week too. So
I'll wrap it up. I'm actually going to go Flowers and Shaheed.
Wow, Shaheed, you're such a help on this question.
I think the answer is definitely Flowers. But with Shaheed, J.C. Horn is out, and Shaheed was the one bright spot in offense that just kind of was abysmal all around. Like, they had flashes here or there, but Shaheed was pretty consistent. So that's my thoughts. All right, we do have a lineup to review. I'll go to the next question. Traded T. Higgins and Miles Sanders for CeeDee Lamb and Isaiah Pacheco. Did I win this trade? Craig, you go first.
So I'm going to assume, and please tell us that we can look down in the comments here if this is wrong, that this is redraft. If it's dynasty, please let us know, because that can make a difference for answering these. It's hard for me not to pick the CeeDee Lamb side as a Cowboys fan, but redraft-wise, I feel better about Miles Sanders for a whole season than I do with Isaiah Pacheco. And T. Higgins, CeeDee Lamb, it's much closer to being a wash for me. So I would have kept T. Higgins and Miles Sanders, but I really love CeeDee Lamb. So,
what about you, Sully?
I kind of migrate to the best player in the deal whenever I try to evaluate a trade. So CeeDee Lamb to me is the best player in this deal. So that I automatically lean to that side. I don't want to, recency bias will make everybody kind of poo-poo T. Higgins because he just gave us a donut in week 1. But this man's
so many targets that don't
understand. Yeah. So he'll be fine. Miles Sanders, I agree, and I think I agree with Craig. If I bundle Higgins and Sanders and I bundle Lamb and Pacheco, as much as I feel Lamb is the best player in the deal, I think that Higgins-Sanders combo scores more points. So that's probably the one that wins the trade. Personally, I just hate the phrase win the trade. Trades are supposed to make both teams better. That's just my little soapbox. I think we'd see a lot more trades in fantasy football if we stopped trying to win trades and just tried to help each other out. But that's a whole other thing altogether.
I agree with that. When I'm thinking about winning a trade, like to me, it's like, did I get a side that I'm happy with? You know,
Okay.
Not that you beat the other person. It's like, how good do you feel about the trade for yourself afterwards? If you find that you're happy with it, then it's a win for you, as opposed to, you know, you need more depth, so you trade CeeDee Lamb for Rashid Shaheed, Brian Robinson, and DJ Moore, you know, or something like that, where to me, I wouldn't feel happy about a trade like that.
I always feel the best trades are the ones I hate making, like the players I hate giving up, knowing that I've given up what I needed to give up. But I agree with what you're saying.
Craig, that makes me feel better about the trade that I made in our IDP and Debbie League, where I got Trevor Lawrence and Trevon Walker. Because for what I gave up, I definitely lost that. But I love Trevor Lawrence, and Trevon Walker's on my new favorite team, so I had to get it. I think this trade is actually pretty lateral, kind of like you guys were saying. T. Higgins and CeeDee Lamb are probably two of my favorite players in the whole league. Miles Sanders is in PPR has better upside than Pacheco, so I'm going to lean that side simply for that. I think Sanders has more opportunity than Pacheco because those passing downs have been going to McKinnon or even CEH with Kansas City. So
Pacheco did catch a few last week, and I'm wondering if he blossoms a little bit in that role now.
I mean, I kind of hope so. Actually, I want CEH to come out of the to rise like a phoenix from the ashes, but I don't see that happening. But we'll see. So, all right, let me get my computer to do what it's supposed to. And this is my wife's lineup. So, how we look, man, she started DeAndre Swift and Devontae Smith because her husband is awesome. Pretty sure I told her to do that. But starting Mahomes, Pollard, Swift, and Smith are already locked in. Pittman, Waller, McLaurin, Rashad White, and then Bass. And the Bills, anybody down here on the bench that you would take out for anyone in their starting lineup?
I can't really see it. Sorry.
Yeah, I had to go full screen to be able to see it. But Shane, while we're doing that, would this league perhaps be for Holly's playoff?
No, this is our family league.
No, well, try to get a plug in and it failed. Sorry, but go see Shane's stuff about Holly's playoff. You can follow along on Twitter to see how everyone is doing. Don't follow my team, though. I think I'm going to be terrible for 30 or whatever.
I lost Aaron Rodgers. But luckily I drafted my boy Sam Howell as my QB3, so I may be okay.
I have Aaron Jones and Austin Ekeler in Polly's playoffs, so not looking forward to winning week 2.
Solid.
Yeah.
Looking at this lineup here, Andrea, I think you're a genius. Don't listen to anything that your husband says, and you had a great lineup there.
Yeah, so I went full screen to see the bench as well, and you know, you're not taking Mahomes out, obviously. Pollard's a lock. Swift is, whether he's in or not, is a great play. Pittman, Waller, Terry. I've been pumping up Rashid White all the time. Love Tyler Bass, and I'm a fan of the Bills. So, yeah, you're looking good. Don't change a thing.
Cool.
Is she playing you this week?
No, she is playing. I don't remember who she's playing. I'm playing my dad. So, all right. Next one, Lex. Back again. Bateman, Drake London, or Christian Watson this week in PPR. This is the most talented, gross question I think I've ever answered. Like, all three of these guys I think are really good. But this week, it's like, oh, God.
It's interesting, though, because there's a lot of question marks around all three of these guys.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I'm going to go with Drake London on this one. There's no way he's getting a zero burger twice in a row. So I'm going to go that route. Hope that the passing game improves in Atlanta. Sully, I'll throw it to you next.
Yeah, I'm going to join you in that one. I mentioned London going against the grain over Zay Flowers in the last one. I just think he bounces back. I don't know what to make of Christian Watson, even if he goes. And I need to see a little bit more out of that Ravens offense, that so-called new look offense. You get Andrews back in there. You guys talk about your admiration for Zay. I don't know. Bateman just might be a little too far down the pecking order here. So I'll go Drake London and hope for the best here. Craig?
Yeah, I'm going with Drake London, just hoping that Arthur Smith takes into account giving the squeaky wheel the grease for 1 week at least here, where I don't know. I didn't read too much into it if Drake London was complaining or everyone was complaining on Drake London's behalf. But also, I think, like we mentioned before, the Packers' offense looked a lot better than I think people thought it would. Falcons' defense, you mentioned, Sully, it is improved. It's still nothing great. Packers would be putting up some points and potentially force the Falcons to actually throw the ball more. So I guess that's what you'd hope for.
Nice. All right. Jaws, friend of the show.
Jaws.
I'm assuming that's Kenneth Walker III. We've got Pacheco or Cortland Sutton. PPR flex. Craig, who are you thinking here?
When I first read this in the side of the chat there, I was trying to think, who is Walker Year? Like, Walker the Third. Like, it took me a minute to figure it out. I'm going to go with Walker the Third on this one. You know, he was the bell cow basically back for Seattle in that game, and I think they're going to have to try to run more to keep pressure off of Geno. And whether or not that actually ends up being successful, you know, time will tell, because Detroit has a great-looking pass rush, and those pass rushers, you know, James Houston, Josh Pascal, Aiden Hutchinson, you know, they got a whole bunch of guys that got a stout set of defensive tackles. They're going to have their way if they can't run the ball effectively. We know Pete Carroll likes to run anyway. Got to try to keep the Detroit offense off the field a bit, so give me Walker.
What about you, Sully?
Yeah, I don't think it's Pacheco for me, and it's not Sutton with Judy most likely back, so I'll go with Walker. I think Kenneth Walker is, as much as I like Zach Charbonnet and think Zach Charbonnet is a better running back than Kenneth Walker, I think Walker early in the season is probably the guy that is going to get the bulk of the work there. So Craig's bang on. I think that Geno's in tough this week with Hutchinson bearing down on him. So hand the ball off and try to set up some play action, buy yourself some time, hope for the best. So I think Walker gets some run here. So I'll go with him.
So my vote doesn't actually matter since y'all both went with Kenneth Walker. Right. But I'm actually betting against my team here and going with Pacheco because, I mean, the Colts running back are basically the three of us with JT out. So I think Pacheco may have the ability to run a little bit better than what the Colts put up last week, and maybe poke some holes in that Jacksonville defense. So my vote would have been Pacheco, but I can't fault you with Walker the Third because I think he's better than Pacheco. So
my career, for just anyone wondering, would last one carry. You hit me once, I might not ever get up. So that would be my career.
Look, I played center, so I just try and block or complete the snap. So
I'll just take a knee.
Evening, gents. And at Pickle currently have a 40% chance to win PPR. Who should I flex? James Cook, Jerry Jeudy, Zay Flowers, Kendrick Bourne, JSN, or Tyler Lockett? Craig.
I do want to say I touched the football once in my entire football career in high school. I recovered an onside kick.
Nice.
They kicked it right to me, caught it, dropped into the fetal position. So that was my one time actually touching the ball, and I didn't do anything bad with it. So,
okay, I want to know: did your team then go on to score because of that recovered onside kick?
No, I think they had a turnover the very next play.
You did your job, brother. That's all that matters.
That's all I can say about it. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, this is definitely a pickle, and I like pickles, but I don't like this pickle. A lot of options there. Kendrick Bourne, I think no one was really talking about him, in terms of names out there going into this season. I think he could end up being the receiver that they want to use the most. He had a really weird year last year where he didn't play a lot for him. There's talk about issues with management and all that, but he's back. He looked good. I got issues starting those Seattle receivers after what we saw last week and then the issues we've talked about with them. So it's Zay Flowers or Kendrick Bourne for me. And as odd as it is to say, I am sort of leaning Bourne because they're going to have to keep up with that Miami offense. I think Miami's going to be able to move the ball in that Patriots defense. And as much as I do like Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews back and healthy, that is just another guy there in an offense we don't have completely figured out. Sully, it's weird to say with these options, but I would lean Kendrick Bourne.
I think I'm with you. And the only reason I'm going to say that is because if you have a 40% chance to win, you got to play the upside. And Zay Flowers to me would be the floor, or maybe even James Cook would be a floor safe play here. But if you're shooting the moon and you're trying to score a lot of points, and maybe you played against Swift on Thursday night or Kirk Cousins on Thursday night, and that's why you're only at a 40% chance, you look at what Mac Jones did in week 1 against a pretty darn good Philadelphia Eagles offense. He looked pretty good, almost like who knew you give him an offensive coordinator that can call offensive plays and good things might happen. So he looks okay. Kendrick Bourne obviously looked good. And the Dolphins, as entertaining as that game was, and yes, they're playing the Chargers, gave up a ton of yards and a ton of receptions and a ton of everything. So I think in a weird way that New England-Miami game might see some points scored, which you normally wouldn't see in those two teams going at each other in the past. So I'll go Kendrick Bourne here as well because he's, to me, has the highest ceiling.
I'm going to say you're both wrong and go Zay Flowers here because Kendrick Bourne, without the 2 touchdowns, only scored 12 PPR points, where Zay Flowers scored 17 without scoring a touchdown. So
those touchdowns count, right?
Yes, but what I'm pointing out is that the likelihood of him scoring 2 touchdowns again, I don't think is going to be very high, which limits his ceiling, whereas Zay Flowers didn't score a touchdown. So even if he gets a few fewer targets or receptions, he's still got the potential to score a touchdown, which then gives him a higher ceiling. So Zay Flowers is my answer.
I can't argue that.
And then we're going right into another Kendrick Bourne question with Kendrick Bourne or Tutu Atwell. I do think we may all agree on this one, and it's Kendrick Bourne here, right?
For me, it is, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I agree. And that's just because I think Tutu Atwell is going to get blown away in the wind at some point in this season.
Huh. Yeah. That's some change in his pockets just to be on the safe side.
Yeah. So Marco doesn't pull punches. Pollard, Stevenson, Cook, Dillon, and Kyron. Start 2.
Start the first 2. Move on.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. The other 3 have too many question marks.
If Aaron Jones is out, maybe
Dillon.
I'd still probably go the other 2. Craig, are you going anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, I'd go the first 2. To your point, A.J. Dillon is really enticing if they end up not having Aaron Jones play. But who would you sit out of them? Stevenson, it's not like the Dolphins' defense was amazing last week. And as much as Tony Pollard may have issues going against that Jets defense, he's the guy there in an offense that we've seen be explosive before, albeit in past years, and Pollard himself being an explosive player. So give me the first 2.
Cool. I like when we're all in agreement. 2 questions in a row.
Isn't that nice? That's very nice.
Miguel Montenegro, I'm having a hard time figuring out who to start. Can you help me pick 1 wide receiver and 1 flex between Cortland Sutton, Puka Nacua, Elijah Moore, Kendrick Bourne, Jamal Williams, and Josh Kelley? Oh. Sully, start us off. You seem like you're deep in thought, so I want to pull that out of you.
So I find that these questions or these shows and Sunday morning, the same thing is I do my best to say, what did I say the last time? Because I hate contradicting myself. That said, I do think Jerry Jeudy has a dramatic input on Cortland Sutton, and I'm really starting to question my Russell Wilson bouncing back stuff. So I'm going to leave him on the side for right now. Puka's intriguing. Elijah Moore is intriguing. I think we might have not quite seen the best of that yet. We just hyped up Kendrick Bourne. It's not Jamal Williams, and it's not Josh Kelley for me. So my wide receiver that I'm going to start is Puka. Yeah. And I think I'm flexing Kendrick Bourne, although I want to say Elijah Moore.
Craig, what are you thinking here?
I agree with Sully. I mean, it doesn't matter which one you put in what slot, but
right.
Talk about Kendrick Bourne, and I like the Josh Kelley play. It's just I don't like his matchup, and I think that they're going to be able to just throw the ball a lot more easy on Tennessee. So give me Puka and Bourne.
I just struggle with how much I've seen of Josh Kelley and what he's done in all those times that I've seen him, and last week. Like last week is the massive outlier for me, and I just don't buy it yet. And I'm wrong a lot, and this could be another one of them, but I just don't buy it.
Yeah. I'll agree with you guys on Kendrick Bourne. I'm going to stick with the fact that Carolina was really bad against the run and actually go Jamal Williams here.
Interesting.
You're a bolder man than I.
Did you watch the Saints run last week?
I
watched them try to.
Yeah. But we've already talked about Tennessee's really good against the run, so Carolina's not. So bounce back. All right, start sit Dameon Pierce, Josh Kelley, PPR. Who does Houston play again?
They play Colts.
Start Dameon Pierce here. Sit Josh Kelley.
I agree.
The only thing I would say is, that Colts defense last week, as much as the box score didn't initially show it, they held up pretty well for most of that game. And Houston isn't anywhere near what Jacksonville is on offense. So I don't think this is going to be a cakewalk.
No, I agree.
Pierce either. That defensive line, and if Shaq Leonard is healthy and playing again, that front seven is just really good. They got a good safety there, Julian Blackman. They got some nice corners. Again, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. But Dameon Pierce is the guy there, and it wouldn't surprise me if Joshua Kelley, clock strikes midnight on him and he just isn't as good as last week. They have other guys that can rotate in there and try, because none of them are Austin Ekeler. So give me Dameon Pierce.
Cool.
CJ Stroud is questionable too. I don't know if that means anything to anybody.
It may later on, and I don't know what it does for this game.
I'd say, if it's Davis Mills, does it change your mind?
No.
Not really.
Mine either. That's fine.
All right, before we get to the next comment, Andrea, I did not help her with her lineup. She just left it from last week. Well, I said it last week, so you're welcome, babe. And then she said, I won't help him. He won't help me if I'm playing him. Correct, because I'm not going to help you beat me, because I've only made the playoffs 1 out of the last 3 years.
Well, whose fault is that?
Mine.
I'll help you. I'll happily help you beat him.
Just because we're on it, Jaws had a comment for her too. Just keep an eye on Waller's health, Andrea, because that's an everlasting or evergreen, as they say, comment. Keep an eye on Waller's
Jeez, that's so true and so sad.
Yeah. All right, lethal shooter, Mike Evans, Michael Thomas, or Javon
Tay Williams.
Tay Williams.
I was thinking it might be Javon Walker, like they brought him back from the dead. Literal, but NFL.
Craig, you go first.
Mike Williams. Yeah, I'm making people up here too.
That's a third Mike. He's not on this list.
I'm just combining the first and last words.
I like it.
Mike Evans. Give me Mike Evans. Old and reliable.
I agree.
I want to be a smart ass and say Javonte Thomas, but I'm going to say Michael Thomas. I think the dude's legit. He looked okay last week. He's back-ish. I'm gonna stick with him. Michael Thomas.
I don't know if we talked about this last week. Someone had mentioned, so you were talking about conspiracy theories about what's the name? McVay hating Cam Akers.
Yeah.
I was hearing stuff that, rumors that Michael Thomas just hates Sean Payton.
Yeah, I was talking about that Sunday morning.
Was that you? Okay, I know I heard it somewhere.
I think I said the older you get, the more conspiracy theories you have. Yeah. I'm old. I got a ton of them. So, yeah. But I do. I think he hates Sean Payton. And Sean Payton's gone. And, oh, look, my body feels good.
Yep.
Yep. All
that doesn't explain why he didn't play last year, though. So
no.
He's just holding out, making sure he doesn't come back.
That's fair. Is he got another job yet? Okay, now I'm back.
Yeah, no, I'm back. I'm good. All right, Marco from the future hitting us again. Godwin, Lockett, Mooney, Burks, or Atwell start 2. Sully, start us off.
I'm afraid of Seattle's wide receivers, to Craig's point earlier. Other than that, otherwise, Tyler Lockett is almost always my answer. Treylon Burks, I don't know. I know he definitely is going to get a lift if DeAndre Hopkins doesn't go. I think Godwin is relatively safe. Baker's pretty okay in the middle of the field, and they don't have a difficult matchup in what they're doing. They play Chicago, I believe. Yeah, so I'm not worried about that. And I like Mooney. I think he was okay last week. So I'll go with Godwin and Mooney here, and those are my 2.
That makes 2 of us. Where are you going, Craig?
I like Godwin. I don't feel like you can start Burks based off of what we saw from Tennessee's passing game. Lockett, you talked about that. Mooney, funny. We'll see if Rick's listening. Maybe this will spur him to make a comment if he is, because I know he said he might be busy. He was saying either on or off the air last week on this show that Chase Claypool was the number 2 guy.
He was saying it on the air, and it pissed me off.
And whether or not that was true, I certainly hope that isn't true after what we saw last week, because
Claypool might not even play.
Man, I don't know what was going on with him. And Mooney looked good. He's going to be the number 2. He'll have more open looks compared to DJ Moore. It's really a toss-up between Mooney and Atwell for me, because I think both of them are in similar situations. But I think Mooney is the better wide receiver, so I'll go there.
I think if the Bears didn't screw up so bad and trade that 32nd overall pick for Claypool, they would have already cut him. That's my take.
Wow. I hate
He's terrible. He's not terrible. He's an NFL wide receiver, but in the context of everything, he's just not that good. He just doesn't look like he gives a crap. That's the biggest problem.
That's the issue. Claypool's talent is there. Like, we saw that as a rookie, but his
trying to see where I'm looking where Rick has him ranked this week. Hang on, keep going.
His attitude is like, to quote Moneyball, it's like, I don't know, Antonio Brown, 50 feet of crap, and then it's Chase Claypool. Like, that's how bad his attitude is at this point, and I hate it because he's so talented. We'll move on to the next question while
Claypool is Rick's 198th ranked player this week.
And 198th player?
And he's my 216th ranked player this week.
Okay, so he's down there. All right. Craig Wayne, Zach Moss, or Jaden Reed in PPR? Craig, hit us.
Do we even know if Zach Moss is playing for sure?
I think he is.
I saw that he is. Yeah.
Headed for starting.
He's cleared, and I read that if he was cleared, he would go as their starting running back.
This is just hard because you don't know what he's going to get, in his first action since breaking his arm. Anthony Richardson runs the ball. I can't imagine they're going to have a workhorse back out of him, but you also don't necessarily know what you're going to get out of Jaden Reed. He'll get some targets, certainly. He's more of a slot guy. He's not a big play guy. Give me Zach Moss. I don't feel good about either one of them, to be honest.
Sully, which way are you leaning?
Yeah, I think I'll join Craig. It's still Zach Moss, and he's never been a world beater for me. That said, I just don't know what Jaden Reed's going to do. It almost seems like I like Jaden Reed a lot, and I thought that maybe with Christian Watson being out, it would help him, but it doesn't really seem to. It almost seems like Dobbs and Reed are cannibalizing each other on the important snaps, and Love seems to feel it a little bit more with Dobbs. So I think Zach Moss probably gets 10 to 12 touches, and he might do something with them. Jaden Reed might have 3 targets, 2 catches for 20 yards. So I'll go with Zach Moss.
I'm going Jaden Reed just because I made the joke earlier that the Colts running backs are basically the 3 of us, and Zach Moss is still included in that grouping. So, and if Christian Watson's out, I think Reed's got a nice little upside play there. So I'll go Jaden Reed.
I think Zach Moss is probably better than us. Just saying.
If Christian Watson plays, does that change your opinion at all, Shane?
Yeah, I think I might go Moss just in hope for volume. So, Dylan, I'm gonna mispronounce this Weigand, something like that. 12-team PPR: Hurts, Walker, Montgomery, Hill, Smith, Pat Muth, Moore starting, bench, Jamal Williams, Addison, Charbonnet, Richardson, Hurst, Roshan Johnson. Do I trade anyone or hold?
Well, let's put his lineup together. So let's say he's starting 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 flexes, just to make it easy.
It looks like it's 1 flex.
Is it?
Yeah, it looks like it's 1 QB, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, tight end flex.
Oh, is that somewhere? Okay.
I would like to know if that's DJ or Elijah Moore.
That would be very helpful.
I'm guessing it's Tyreek Hill.
Could be Rondell as well.
Devonta Smith, I'm guessing. Yeah.
It's always difficult to, decide if you should trade or hold on to anyone based on what your league looks like, size, format, how you did week 1. All those little factors play in. But there's some pretty quality names on this list. So you're 1 week into the season. I'll just take the easy way out here and in a vacuum and just say, just hold on and see what happens. Typically in a redraft league, I don't really do anything crazy until about week 4. But that's just my take on this. Like I said, it's difficult to really tell you what to do, but I think there's a lot of pieces here I like.
What about you, Greg?
If this is redraft, I would have interest in trying, maybe you can't, but like upgrading that running back position on your bench. And again, to Sully's point, it's just what we've seen so far from this year. Jamal Williams at some point is going to be taking a backseat to Alvin Kamara. Charbonnet, you just barely used at all. Maybe that changes. And then Roshan Johnson, he's one of 3 running backs in Chicago, and Justin Fields runs a lot. So an upgrade there would be my recommendation.
Yeah, that's honestly the same thing I was thinking, Craig, was upgrade that running back room. I'm assuming that's Anthony Richardson. With you having Jalen Hurts, you don't really need Anthony Richardson. So I may look for someone who is QB hurting for a QB, and maybe try and package Richardson and one of your lower tier running backs to upgrade at running back if you can. It's probably going to be hard in 1 QB, but that's what I would do.
Is that Hurts or is that Hayden Hurst?
He's got both.
There he is at the front.
And Hurst at the bottom, yeah.
Gotcha. I don't read. That's why
apparently language is not your strong suit today.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't host, right? Because you guys read stuff. I just pull stuff out of my butt.
Back to Marco. Drop Brenda. Well, yes, drop Brenda, because I don't even know who Brenda is. For C. Reynolds, D. Johnson, Ty Montgomery, Haskins are the options on my waiver here. It's a first-year dynasty league.
I'm guessing he's saying Burita. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. That's my guess.
If it's Burita, yes. If it's Brenda, I don't know. She might be a nice young lady. So maybe I need a little bit more information on Brenda before I tell you what to do there. But I think I know enough about Matt Burita that I would drop Matt Burita in every format of dynasty other than a Giants only running back league.
It is Burita, he said in a most recent comment. So, and I hate to keep asking questions. I'm guessing it's D. Johnson. They're talking about all running backs.
The other people he has listed, that's who I would assume.
Yeah, I mean they're all running. I mean, Reynolds on Detroit. I think he's still on Detroit. It's interesting just because of how many running backs they use, and maybe if one of them gets hurt, he could take over some of that. I have some interest to him, and then some interest of Dearness Johnson still even on the Browns. Didn't they have some?
No, he's on the Jags.
Yeah.
No, well, that's much less interesting for me. Give me Craig Reynolds on.
I might actually hang on to Burita here. This is crazy.
Yeah, didn't Haskins would be the one spot?
Didn't Haskins got
cut by the
got arrested and then get cut?
Yeah. I don't know about the arrested part, but I know he got cut.
I think that's why he got cut. He had some legal issues. So Haskins doesn't have a job. D'Ernest might as well not have a job. Man, those are some nasty running backs, bro. Sorry.
And then is Randall Cobb still an option for Dynasty? For me, no.
Not without it. Not without Rodgers. I don't think so.
Haskins is on the commissioner's exempt list.
So yeah, he did get arrested.
He's still on the team.
I think he did get arrested. I think he had some legal issues, and that's why he ended up there.
But that's an interesting question.
Yeah. Craig, any thoughts on this?
I mean, he really shouldn't be for most leagues. I mean, you can find a league where anyone is relevant if you have deep enough rosters. You know, I'm in leagues like Shane and I are in one where I think it's 10 teams now. We had cut down because we had people leave, but it's like 55.
Those rosters are so deep.
Yeah, and it's a Debbie league, which, you know, that's part of it too. So, I mean, you can find a league, not that one. So, you know, 16-team league where you got to have 55 people on a roster. Sure, you could have a spot for Randall Cobb in the hopes that Aaron Rodgers comes back and Cobb comes back to help him out again. But for most leagues, no, I think he can be left on waivers or cut.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Zay Flowers, or I'm assuming this is Nuke Hopkins, and because of health issues, I think this is pretty easily Flowers.
I would go Flowers.
Do they both play at the same time?
I don't know. Now you're asking me questions I wasn't prepared for.
Me neither. So I'll just give you an easy answer. If they both play at the same time, take it right up to kickoff. If Hopkins goes, start him. If not, there's your answer.
They both play in early games, yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to take it right up to kickoff, and if Nuke is active, then he's my guy. I'm not sitting.
I'm still thinking Flowers. Ethan Babcock, 10-team, full PPR. Lamar, McCaffrey, Stevenson, assuming that's Garrett Wilson, Keenan, Pitts, McLaurin, 49ers. I'm assuming they're into the starting lineup. Marquise Brown, Tua, Elijah Moore, Jay Hill, Hunter Henry, Roshan Johnson, Bourne, and Zach Moss on IR. What is it? WDIs in trades.
I'm guessing he's asking about waivers or trades.
Yeah.
Somehow it would be my
10-teamer. Obviously, you want as many studs as you can. The smaller the league, the better the players. Lamar, CMC, Ramondre, Garrett Wilson, Keenan Allen, Pitts, McLaurin is pretty darn good. Yeah. 49ers defense, also pretty darn good. And then if your bench has Marquise Brown, Tua, and the rest of those guys on there, I think you're doing okay. If you want to go real deep down there, maybe you try to put something like Roshan together with Bourne because they're both playing well and turn those two into one more upgradable piece. But I don't think there's a whole lot to do here in a 10-team league.
I said this last week, and I hate saying it. If this is Dynasty, maybe not as much, but certainly for redraft, you got to look at upgrading Kyle Pitts just because it seems like they don't have any desire to be regularly throwing the ball. Even if he has a huge target share, which he did, have like air yards and that sort of stuff. Kyle Pitts was great, but the pie is so small that even if he has a large chunk of it, there just isn't a lot there. And Hunter Henry, he's just nothing amazing either. It's sort of a weird thing where tight ends lately seem to go to New England to just disappear. So I'd like a better starting tight end.
Waiver darling this week. I don't know.
Did you see the stat that Hunter Henry led all tight ends in receiving yards last week?
Do you know how many he had?
Like 60.
I didn't.
56 yards led all tight ends last week.
Like 60.
I saw
like 60. The Price is Right went over.
I think it was Alfredo Brown, the pretend GM on Twitter. Great guy. Mm-hmm. I think it was him that posted the wide receiver 52 last week would have been the tight end 1. So wow.
That is wild.
Well, luckily Hawkinson set the bar high this week.
That's true. They do much better this week. And Andrews, Kelley back, Waller maybe with a better game not going against the Cowboys. A lot of great options there. But that would be my recommendation is to try to, or like we mentioned, find a better running back. But your starting lineup looks fantastic. So
I think that's good feedback.
My trade idea would be similar to Craig's. And again, if this is one QB, you don't need Tua if you have Lamar. So what I would be trying to do is tier down from Tua, get somebody who is a little more durable, because Lamar and Tua both have some durability questions. Not huge ones for me, but they're there. So I would try and trade like, I don't know, Tua, Roshan, and Kendrick Bourne, and tier down from a QB perspective and tier up at running back, just so you do have some depth in that running back room behind McCaffrey and Stevenson.
I like that. I don't disagree that you want to get a little more durable quarterback. It's just hellacious trying to trade a quarterback in a 1 QB league.
Oh, I know. I've done it, but it's hard.
I think you have to do quarterback for quarterback almost, right? So get someone a little bit safer, like to your point, but I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And also I want to correct myself just because I want to get the name right. Another good guy, he's from JWB football, but Skyler, the FF Buffalo, he was the one who posted
okay, cool.
Yes.
That's a really good follow.
Would have been
all of those guys are.
So, crazy stat for tight ends.
That's one of the best stats I've heard in a long time.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right. Felipe Perez with a Tua profile picture. I like it. Starting Hunter Henry and Bourne in a PPR league. I think you're a traitor because of your profile picture, so you need to bench one of them. No, I'm just kidding. Sully, I'll throw it to you for some actual serious analysis here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this for this week, starting Hunter Henry and Bourne?
Well, I'm assuming that's his best choice, so it's probably the right decision. I think we did, though, see Miami. You can throw on them. So I think we've talked enough about Kendrick Bourne already. I like it. Hunter Henry for me is Hunter Henry's fine if he scores, and if he doesn't, you get 6 points. PPR or standard or half. I think he's just a tough guy to bank on unless he scores touchdowns, and he's obviously a legit option in that offense. I did read some stuff where apparently they're not very happy with Juju Smith-Schuster, Belichick specifically. So that probably plays into both Bourne and Hunter's favor. So I don't hate it, but without seeing the roster, I can't really tell you too much.
Yeah. Craig, what do you think?
Bourne.
Okay. I despite my colleagues here, Felipe, I don't hate Hunter Henry. I do think he's been pretty consistent at tight end. It's a floor play. Oh, come on. It's a word. I'm sorry.
But I don't hate him. I just think he disappoints you unless he scores a touchdown. That's all. But that's 99% of the league's tight ends.
Yes, that's anyone that's not named Kelsey, Kittle, Goddard, Hawkinson. I think that's the line. If they don't score a touchdown.
Well, Goddard got you nothing last week.
Yeah. So, all right. Should I start Deshaun Watson or Anthony Richardson? Who should I roll with rest of the year if I could only keep one? Craig, go first here. Oh, did we get a super chat? I missed it.
Just came in, so we can get there after this one. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Who should I roll with the rest of the year if I can only keep one? Who finished better out of the two last week? Because I don't know how much I have.
Watson, I believe, not by a lot though, but I think they were both top 10, if I'm not crazy. But I think Deshaun had, I think it was about QB 6 or 7 last week. Excuse me.
It was a weird game though too with weather.
It really was. It was very hard to gauge.
My heart wants to go Anthony Richardson just because of the rushing floor, and he plays in an easier division where I think points are going to be easier to come by. That AFC North is still more difficult to deal with. But he said, Watson, most people for 1 year have Watson ranked a higher, and I think that's deservedly so. And I probably give me Richardson.
Sully.
I'm just looking something. You go next.
Oh, I'm going to go Watson here. From a personal standpoint, that hurts me, but from a fantasy football perspective, I think Watson will just be more consistent with Richardson being a rookie and going through those woes. Sorry, man. Go ahead and throw this one up there. It was Watson or Richardson.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Richardson. I don't like either one of them, to be totally honest with you, that much, but I will take the potential to be Cam Newton in his rookie season. That's what I'll take.
Okay. Pierre DeCoste with the super chat. Thank you, Sir Pierre. I want to pick up Tank Bigsby. I already like you a lot to strengthen my running back depth. Mixon, James Conner, Zeke, Javonte, Godwin, Lockett, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, who is expendable. Sully, lead us off.
So you and I did a show together on your wonderful podcast earlier this season, and I sniped Tank away from you because I like him too. I love Tank Bigsby. I don't know if I'm dropping anyone here to pick him up, though.
Okay.
Now, I'm assuming this is a redraft league. If it's a dynasty league, I'm dropping Zeke and I'll pick up Tank. But if it's not, I think that Mixon, Connor, Zeke, Javonte, Godwin, Lockett, Christian Kirk, and Zay Jones are all going to be more fantasy advantageous to me this season than Tank is, barring injury, of course.
Craig, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, that's always summed up my thoughts when I saw that list. I like the idea of picking up Tank, but I think you have a really solid set of people there. My thought, if this is like your overall depth on your team, maybe look to move on from one of Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and, improve your RB depth that way if that's what you're looking to do. I'm in a lot of leagues where I do the same, what I consider to be dumb thing when I do it, where I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll take both these wide receivers, and then you never know which one of them to be playing. And neither one of them is the guy because Ridley's there. And at least for last week, it was Zay Jones as far as snaps and production over Christian Kirk. But with the contract that they're giving Christian Kirk, are they really going to have him be the third guy there and then off the field that much? I don't know. So I don't want to cut any of these guys really at this point.
Okay, well, I'll be the tiebreaker. No, I'll tell you what I would do here. I would cut Zay Jones here. I may be talking out of both sides of my mouth here, wanting that narrative to survive. Jones has good chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, but Tank Bigsby has so much talent that I think he'll surprise people as the season goes along, and it's a long season. The other person I thought was Zeke, but you're trying to bolster your running back depth, so I don't think it makes sense to cut a running back to do so. To Craig's point, not having two receivers on the same team and Kirk and Zay Jones. So I would cut Zay Jones because I think if push comes to shove and later on down the season you need to pick him back up, he's going to be a lot easier for you to pick back up and more likely to probably be on waivers than Christian Kirk would or Tank Bigsby. So that's my thoughts.
I have a new theory, if I can.
Hit me.
I'm going to make a trade, and I'm going to take, say, either Christian Kirk or Zay Jones and put them together with one of these other players on my list. And I'm going to try to do a 2-for-2 trade where one of them is really good and one of them really isn't. So I'm basically going to allow a manager in my league to get rid of some kind of dead wood on their roster. And that's who I'm going to drop for Tank Bigsby once I make the trade. So I'll trade, let's just say, Christian Kirk and Zeke for, I don't know, someone and Cedric Tillman. And I'll drop Tillman and pick up Tank.
Yep. Okay. We got some additional thoughts. Jaws says Zeke could go. Dylan Fink says if Ramondre goes out, Zeke has quality. And then he brings up a good point too. You're not going to start Zay Jones over Godwin, Lockett, or Kirk. With the way that it's shaped up, you could make the argument for Jones over Kirk. But again, my whole point last week and with the waiver wire video for us here at RotoHeat was I'm not ready to start Zay Jones yet. But if Zay Jones continues to get that snap share, then he is definitely worth a roster spot and potentially a flex position.
Zay Jones was the top 24 wide receiver last year, was he not?
I don't remember that off the top of my head.
Top 36 for sure. Maybe top 24. I think he was close if he wasn't. I think Trevor Lawrence likes Zay Jones quite a bit. And I totally get the fact that Calvin Ridley is there. And like I said earlier, there's going to be ebb and flow in that offense. And 1 week, Ridley's going to have a little bit of a down game, and Zay and Kirk will. And I think it'll go back and forth. And you layer in Evan Ingram, and then you layer in those running backs in that offense. And that's a juggernaut in the making. So
Yeah.
I think there's not plenty of weeks, but I definitely think there's going to be some weeks with, we have some crazy bye weeks shaping up this year. I don't know when all these teams play, but week 7 and week 13, I think, are nuts. So Zay Jones could easily get a start in here 2 or 3 times. And if he keeps playing like he did in week 1, I don't know, man. I like Lockett's the guy who scares me the most right now, and I love him.
Yeah. So, all right, back up here. Watson drops 20 in week 1, but don't know about AR. Jaws is worried about Kenneth Walker without their starting OTs. So are we. And then cap for life. Gentlemen, PPR need 2, Burks, Shaheed, or Puka. I'm going to start this one off because I'm feeling brisky and going Shaheed and Puka. Unless Hopkins is out. If Hopkins is out, then it's Burks and Shaheed.
Saints play Panthers Monday. Is that correct?
That is correct. And no JC Horn.
Shaheed and Puka for me. Hopkins or no Hopkins.
Oh, okay. What about
they just don't throw. They just don't throw if there's no Hopkins.
Yeah,
I agree with Sully.
All righty. So it sounds like it's for Shaheed and Puka no matter what. All right. Is Michael Thomas back? I know he has more target competition, but wasn't able to see much of that one.
I didn't either, and I'll look really quickly to see what he had for targets. But he, from what I saw, from what like the highlight stuff that I saw, he looked.
The thing
like
is,
he looked like Michael Thomas.
Yeah, since he's been hurt, like that initial injury, when he has played, he's still been a monster. The talent's still there. It's just, is he going to be on the field? So I think if he's on the field this season, then the answer is yes. What about you, Greg?
If he's healthy, yeah. I mean, he's still. That some people find this controversial. He's still a top 20 wide receiver, at least in the NFL, if he's healthy.
Yeah.
8 targets, 5 catches, 61 yards. And the one thing he's been his entire career is a very high reception percentage guy. You throw anything anywhere near him, and he's pretty much catching it. So,
hashtag slant boy.
Call him what you want. Right? I always laugh when I hear that. Okay.
I don't care. That's his nickname.
No, I just think it's funny that it was invented as a derogatory term. It's like,
yeah, I know. Like, who cares?
Doesn't bother me any.
Does the offense move? Do you score points off of it? Yes. Then who cares?
Drew Brees didn't care.
No. Start 2 full PPR: Kenneth Walker, Zay Jones, Tyler Lockett, James Conner, Christian Watson, and Puka Nacua. Oh God. Craig, go first. Sorry.
Off of what we saw last week, give me Zay Jones, and if he plays Puka. It says Q after that. I don't know if he's actually questionable or not. I'm assuming so, but if he's playing, give me those 2 based off what we've seen in their offenses.
Mr. Sullivan?
I think James Conner has to be in here just based on volume. So he's going to get both carries. It's going to get carries and targets, and I don't expect that offense to do much, but I just purely on volume, I'm going to put James Conner in here, especially if it's PPR, and it is. So he's going to get in there because he probably gets 4 or 5 catches for 12 yards. Those points count. And then I'm struggling between Walker, Jones, and Puka. I don't quite buy into Puka, especially with the matchup this week. Walker, we talked about having to run the football there, but that's a nasty matchup. I guess it's Zay Jones for me and James Conner.
James Conner and Puka.
The one thing I will say, I know you mentioned Shane there, so they're playing the Giants. I think the Giants are going to look a lot better this week than
I can agree with that. I will not fight you on that.
If they don't, look out.
Oh, yeah. Daniel Jones will not be a starter next year if they don't look better.
Right. Brian Dable might not be a coach either.
Which is nuts.
Right?
Because he's really good.
They're awesome. They'll be fine.
Jaws, I have MT in ahead of London, Sutton, and Slayton at the moment. Oh, yeah, definitely. I would start him over all three of those. Easy.
I would do that as well.
Pick 2 in full PPR: Mike Evans, Debo, and Josh Kelley. Mike Evans for me, guaranteed. Josh Kelley. Sully, who you got?
Evans and Debo.
What did Debo do last week? I didn't actually see from a peep.
He got about 13 points, I think. I can tell you exactly. Hang on.
Craig, while he's looking that up, what are your thoughts on this one?
Based off of what we said of the run defense that Josh Kelley's going against,
Evans, Debo. Okay, you guys, I'll switch mine then. I'm just not. I've never been the biggest Debo fan, but that offense is going to be, I think, too good for him not to be.
Two carries for 8 yards, 5 receptions for 55, and a touchdown. So he had 14.8 fantasy points saved by his touchdown.
Yeah, give me Mike Evans and Debo. Pick 1, flex: McLaurin, Javonte, JSN, Dobbs, full PPR. Craig starts off.
We said the Commanders are playing whom again?
Denver.
Well, they played them last week. I was going to say Arizona, but they already played them. Denver.
They played Denver. McLaurin's going to probably get the Pat Surtain treatment.
Christian Watson doesn't play. Here's the thing. We get accused with some of this stuff, and we say, it goes back to start your studs. I have a really hard time sitting McLaurin, even if they are going against Denver and Pat Surtain. But I would have some. There's a part of my mind that would say start Dobbs if Christian Watson sits. The only problem with that, there are some nice cornerbacks, AJ Terrell being one of them on the Atlanta Falcons. So start your studs. Give me McLaurin.
I'm same wavelength here, Craigie. I'm going McLaurin here, but would entertain the idea of Dobbs if Watson is out. And I'm gonna, pump up what's the freaking word I'm looking for? We'll just call it the president of the Sam Howell fan club. McLaurin is part of that Sam Howell, hype train. So give me McLaurin.
Yeah, it's Terry for me, and I think it's kind of a wide margin, to be totally honest with you. And
even if Watson doesn't play,
doesn't matter to me. And I shouldn't say it doesn't matter to me. I think. Well, let me put it this way. If Watson and Dobbs both play and I could only start one, I'd be starting Dobbs. So it doesn't really matter that much to me if he starts, right?
Vikings fan, you don't count.
Hey, we're the only team in the league that's 0-2. I'll take Terry McLaurin.
All right, Marco from the future: Kyron Williams, AJ Dillon, James Cook, Tutu Atwell, Treylon Burks, or Lockett. Start one for your flex. Good God, only one? Craig, who are you going here?
All I'm learning is that Marco seems to be in as many leagues as I am.
He's in a lot. He's in a lot.
And he has a lot of tough decisions, I feel like. So, Marco, stop either drafting so well or so poorly, however you think you do.
Give me A.J. Dillon. If Aaron Jones isn't playing, I want A.J. Dillon. If he is playing, this gets a lot harder for me, but I still want one of these three running backs. And I think
same.
Maybe James Cook then, but A.J. Dillon with what we know at the moment.
Yeah, if Aaron Jones plays, it's James Cook. If Aaron Jones doesn't play, it's A.J. Dillon. If that makes sense. I think it does.
Makes sense to me. So.
Okay, that's all I was really going for. I'm having trouble getting words out, so I was just making sure.
Still there,
Can
Shane?
you see me? I'm here. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
No idea what's going on with my Wi-Fi tonight.
You're good, man. You're good.
I cut off at Craig saying that it's Dillon if Aaron Jones is out, and basically talking about giving him one of the three running backs. Sully, Craig, did you have anything after that? And then Sully, did you give your answer?
I did, and I pretty much agree with Craig. So I think Craig and I are both aligned in the fact that if Jones is out, we're going to go with Dillon. But if Jones is in, I'm going to go with Cook. And Craig, I'm not sure what you were going to do there.
Flip a coin. Go with Sully.
Yeah. You don't hear that much, folks.
I think I'm going to go James Cook pretty much no matter what. If Aaron Jones does not play, it's a lot closer with Dillon, and the consolation prize is Kyron Williams because I think he's got some PPR upside. But James Cook's the answer here for me pretty easily. So then we got Marco confirming that it was Breida earlier. Can't remember if I showed that.
Yep.
And then Kenneth Walker or Tyler Lockett, full PPR. I'm going Walker. What about you, Sully?
I think so. Like, I mentioned a couple of different times, and Craig alluded to it as well. We were a little bit worried about Seattle's receivers. And they will need to run the ball, but man, those two tackles being out isn't the greatest thing in the world, but I think it's Kenneth Walker. I just don't really expect much out of Seattle at all this week.
Craig, anything to add?
I'm trying to find the game stuff. Here we go, about the Rams. And the interesting thing about the Rams, if you really look at what they have back there and their secondary for what they played anyway, it's Jordan Fuller, who was like a 5th-round pick or something like that. And then just a whole bunch of late-round guys. And even with a really poor secondary that they were going up against, they couldn't do much, in large part because of that issues with the offensive line that they ended up running into. Detroit has a much better defensive backfield, that secondary, with CJG, CGJ. They got Branch, they got Kirby Joseph. They got some cornerbacks that they brought in. It's just much better than what the Rams had. So to believe that they're going to have luck against a probably slightly better pass rush and a much better secondary, give me the running back.
Cool. Marco, Josh Ali, Ronnie Bell, Jalen Cropper, Bryce Ford Wheaton, or Copeland. Pick one for Dynasty Taxi Squad. I'm going to be honest with you. The only one that I recognize is Bryce Ford Wheaton, so I'm going to go with that one. Sully, what about you?
Ronnie Bell looked like money for the Niners in the preseason, so I'm going to go there.
That would be my pick. I know Jalen Cropper's on the Cowboys. Bryce Ford Wheaton, I've heard of him, but I couldn't tell you who he's on. Copeland, same thing, I've heard of him.
Josh Alley, anyone? No idea who that is.
Nope.
Couldn't say I've heard of him, which doesn't mean a lot, but
me either.
Maybe Ronnie Bell from what we've seen.
Gotcha. Ethan Babcock, HD or WDIS.
Who do I start? Trade? Okay.
Sorry, what was that one?
This is back to this one.
Oh.
That's what the
I think your starting lineup looks good. So we gave you our trade ideas there too. So
yeah,
Marco
I like that.
dropped Breida for McLaughlin. Just found him on my waiver wire. I would say yes. It's Dynasty, I think, from earlier.
Yep. Yeah, he's McLaughlin's been my off-season darling. I'm in 6 Dynasty leagues. He's on all of my rosters. We'll see if that works out.
Yeah, Jaws agrees. What about you, Craig?
For Dynasty, you take the younger player. And Matt Breida, he's been around. He's never been, at least the past few seasons, anything amazing. I don't think he's ever been anything amazing for a full season. Just take the younger guy and hope.
Yeah. Yep. He might have had one RB2 season in San Francisco, but nothing.
Yeah, but I don't even think that was a full season given for
probably not. He got hurt a lot. Yeah.
The healthy stuff.
That's true.
Yeah.
He had 814 yards in 2018. That was his best for rushing.
Wow.
So with 3 touchdowns.
Jeez, I would have thought he was better than that. That doesn't sound very good at all.
Jivan Chai, Kendrick Bourne, or JSN PPR. I think we all agree this is Kendrick Bourne. If it's redraft, obviously.
Yeah, if this is a sit start, I'm going Bourne.
Yeah, I'm starting Bourne this week. I want JSN rest of the season. If that way I can answer both questions, even if it's only one of them.
Dylan, Gino, or A-Rich. Also, Mostert, Hollywood, or Hopkins if he plays full PPR. starting the Giants D, so not considering Hollywood for that reason. And the Cardinals got Josh Dobbs. So first one, Geno or A, Rich? I think we all agree this is Richardson just because of what Geno's dealing with without the tackles, right?
I think so. It is for me.
Craig? Yeah. And they're playing Houston.
Yeah. In Houston, their defense still isn't great.
So then Mostert, Hollywood, or Hopkins if he plays. Based on the other qualifying information that you put in there, Dylan, I think this is pretty easily Mostert. If you don't want to start Hollywood because of the Giants D and Dobbs and Hopkins. I think Hopkins is the answer if he plays, but I don't think there's a high likelihood of that right now. Maybe we'll get some confirmation while we're on. But assuming Hopkins does not play for me, it's Mostert. Sully, what about you?
If Hopkins is going, he's in my lineup. If he's not, the Giants D thing doesn't really bother me too much, but I agree with you. It'd be Mostert for me.
I agree with Sully. Even with the situation, you got to hope it was a 1 week problem with Ryan Tannehill and that he hasn't, gone the route of Matt Ryan. So give me Hopkins if he plays, and if not, Mostert.
Okay, we're in agreement there. If Christian Watson doesn't go, do we start Odell or Tony? Tony is not touching my lineup until he shows he can actually catch the ball. So it's Odell. Craig?
I agree, but I saw one of the Ball Blast girls. It was either, I forget which one. It was
Kate or Michelle.
Had some tweet about everyone is off of Tony, so watch him go for, 6 catches for 100 yards this game and then just make everyone lose their minds, which it's the NFL. We see that stuff all the time. Would not surprise me if it happened, but you can't start Kadarius Toney after what you saw last week from him.
No.
You can't, but the thing that I always go back to when I watch that game is Sky Moore had, I think, an 8% target share in that game. He could not get open. Justin Watson got open once or twice, and Mahomes hit him. Tony was getting targeted because he's the only guy in that offense that could actually get open.
Kelsey will be back.
Sure, and he will
helps him get more open probably too.
And don't get me wrong, I am not starting Kadarius Toney, but DFS I would, because I think the guy can get open, and he can't get any worse. Like, he literally cannot get any worse.
That's fair. I just want to see the Chiefs give Rashid Rice and Justin Ross some more run.
Yeah, and I think those guys are both, Andy Reid's offenses are tough to learn, and both those guys are, I know Ross isn't a rookie, but he basically is. It's going to be a while before either of those guys are consistently involved. I love Odell Beckham, but, man, is he the 4th or 5th or 6th option in that offense?
One of those, yeah.
Like that's the hard part, right? Like, I love the guy. Like, he's one of my all-time favorites, but I don't feel great starting Odell Beckham. Like, if Kadarius Toney scored more points than Odell, would any of us be really that surprised?
I don't know, but Andrews, Flowers, and then who?
The answer's Odell, but I think Kadarius could easily be the Chiefs' leading receiver this week, not counting tight ends, just receivers.
That's fair. I'm still going Odell. I don't trust Tony.
If you're feeling frisky and you want to go for a shoot in the moon, try for Tony, because weirder things have happened. The guy has talent. It could just be a 1 week thing.
Yeah. I'm putting him in a DFS line for sure.
Sit 1 PPR. Miles Sanders, David Montgomery, Breece Hall. Sanders plays the Saints on Monday. Montgomery plays Seahawks.
Yep.
And Hall plays the Cowboys. Would it be crazy to sit Breece Hall here because of the Cowboys defense? That's what I'm leaning.
It's not like the Bills have a pushover defense either, and he had a game against them.
Yeah.
And Dalvin Cook on the other side just didn't look good.
He looked like Dalvin Cook, which is sad. I think Dalvin might be done.
This might be one of the harder questions we've had tonight, honestly, having to sit one of these three.
So Montgomery's in for me. It's between Sanders and Hall for me.
The Saints still as good a run defense as they've always been.
Their D-line's pretty damn good, if you ask me.
So I just look at Brees. Like, Brees had 10 carries last week. So if I told you Brees gets 10 carries again this week, what do you do with him?
Ew.
Do you get any targets?
He did. He had 2 targets. He caught one of them for 20 yards. Everything he did was like 10 or 20 yards long. I guess like he had an 83-yard run against Buffalo, which is no small accomplishment. But if you take that out, he's now 10 for 40, so he's 4-ish yards a carry, which is pretty good, and 2 catches for 20 yards. So I think you have to start Brees Hall. I just don't like it, and I don't know who you start him over. I agree with Craig. This is the best and hardest question we've had yet. I think I'm going to sit Miles Sanders.
I'm going to agree.
Monty's going to probably punch 1 or 2 ugly ones in, and Brees Hall is going to be Brees Hall. And who knows what Sanders is going to do.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, because I was looking back at it, because originally I was thinking Miles Sanders. Then you look back at what he did last week, and it was a relatively close game up until the fourth quarter when the Falcons pulled away. He had 18 carries for 72 yards, and he had 6 targets, caught 4 for 26 yards. So he's getting the volume. He's the clear guy there because the other running backs, I mean, call Laviska Shenault the running back, but of the people that had carries besides him,
right?
There was 9 for Chuba and then 5 between the quarterback and whatever you want to call Laviska.
So, I'm changing my answer based on what Craig just said. I'm sitting Montgomery.
I'm still sitting Sanders.
Gibbs has to get more work. He was clearly the best looking back in that backfield, and we'll see. But Monty has to score to make it worthwhile. Sanders has the volume ability to be worth being in your lineup without scoring a touchdown. That's why. That's why I changed my answer.
And Seattle's run defense is better. And maybe it's because people were out last week in their secondary. I know that. But Seattle's run defense is better than it has been in prior years, and they have 2.
Is it better than New Orleans?
Is it better than what?
New Orleans.
Honestly, they're probably similar. That's just off the top of my head. I mean, I know they had Derrick Henry, which skews things. But last week, the Titans did against the New Orleans Saints.
Still can't believe Spears outsnapped Henry in that game.
Man, I get a 3-sided coin and flip it. That's a hard one for me. I'm sort of leaning towards because you can't sit Brees Hall after what you saw out of him. To me,
and I agree.
The clearest, best volume that would seem to be apparent similar going forward.
So New Orleans was, according to Sleepers, ranked 16th against running backs. Do I have Brees Hall anywhere?
We will probably have to try to start going through these a little bit quicker.
Yeah, Dallas.
I do like the comment Doo Smith Schuster, though.
Yeah,
made that joke myself before.
All right, Broncos, Browns, Giants, or Bucks D this week. Rick's not going to like me here, but I'm taking the Bucks against Chicago. What about you guys?
Giants against the Cardinals.
Oh, duh. Never mind. Take that back. Giants against the Cardinals. Sorry, forgot that.
Agree. Yeah, agree.
Laporta, Freiermuth, PPR. Laporta.
I'll go with Freiermuth. I think they're both quality starts.
I do too, but Kenny Pickett's hot garbage.
No, he's not. Not yet. He's not. Boo.
I'm stuck in take lock on that one. Sorry.
It's okay.
Half PPR, Kelley or Connor. Connor.
Yeah, I think just a clear path to work, both on the ground and in the air. Connor for me, please.
Yeah,
Connor.
All right, in a full PPR, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. I have Herbert, Chase, Thomas, Etienne, Mixon, Kittle, and either Kamara or Jamal Williams at flex. Would you change anything? No.
No, I don't think so.
Only thing I would try and improve is Mixon, but you've got Kamara coming, so I'm kind of okay with that.
And Mixon's in such a good spot too.
Yeah, nice starting lineup.
It is.
Yeah.
Kelley or Pacheco? Pacheco.
Agree.
Pacheco. I think we skipped one up there. Did we do Watson or Burks?
Oh, I missed that one. How did I miss that one? Watson or Burks PPR flex position. Watson if he's healthy.
If Watson's playing, give me Watson. He has a better quarterback, clearly, from what we saw.
Agree.
Cool. Zay Jones was 26 in PPR last year.
That's close. I was close.
You were very close. If I were to upgrade my running back room by trading Bourne and Roshan, who should I target?
Someone better than those two. That's a hard answer to That's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, especially going quickly.
So you're trading, let's say, a wide receiver 3 and a running back 3 for try to get something. You're upgrading your running back room. I would look at something like an Alexander Madison or something back end RB2-ish. That's what I'd look at.
Yeah,
reasonably get for that.
I forgot does he have James Conner? Because that's a name we've been talking about that you might be.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a better one. You might just want to hang on to Roshan. Looks like he's the Bears' back of choice. So
he does not have James Conner.
Someone like that might be worth looking at.
Yeah. Who should I start? B-Rob, not the Bijan kind, Jerry Jeudy or Tyler Allgeier. I'm starting Allgeier. Craig?
Brian Robinson.
Okay.
Jerry Jeudy.
Wow. Not helpful at all.
I've thought about it, Sully, but I was completely off Russell Wilson last year, and people called me crazy. And I'm not saying that I'm completely right because a lot of season left here, but one game into this season, he doesn't look a lot better than he did last year.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that, and I am concerned about that. The only thing that I take a little bit of comfort in is once Hackett was fired last year, the way he finished the season, he finished as a top 12 quarterback. So, yeah, I don't buy the Tyler Allgeier that he's going to do that week in, week out. Brian Robinson would be my second choice, but I just think Judy's back. They're going to pepper him. They're going to want to get him going. So that's why I picked him. But I am not super comfortable with Russell Wilson at all.
All right. Dobbins is out for the season. He's on waivers. Is it worth stashing him on my IR? In Dynasty, I think so.
In Dynasty, yeah, he shouldn't be dropped in Dynasty.
No.
Green.
Cool. 12-team, full PPR. Geno, A-Rich, Pollard, James Cook, Herbert, I'm assuming Khalil, Mostert, Diggs, MT, Hopkins, Hollywood. Andrews likely trades after this week, thinking anybody other than Diggs, Pollard, Andrews. Wide receiver 2 is biggest need.
I don't know, man. You got Diggs, MT, Hopkins, and Hollywood. What do you need? Why do you need a wide receiver?
Yeah,
you don't want to panic after 1 week. I mean, I don't know if you're.
Those 4 wide receivers are all in the top 30.
I'm holding on this team. This team is really, really good on paper. Week 1 is always weird. I'm gonna.
If anything, this team needs a little bit of a running back boost, not a wide receiver boost, in my opinion.
Yeah, RB2 boost.
If you really wanted to improve your wide receiver 2 and try to package 2 of those wide receivers for a higher guy, maybe. I mean, if you can find someone that doesn't have any depth at all, and someone that would trade someone that didn't do great, like Hopkins and Hollywood for.
T. Higgins.
T. Higgins, Drake London. Like that. T. Higgins would be my preference because they actually throw the ball in Cincinnati.
To Sully's point, though, if you want to upgrade your RB2 room, another guy that you could go look at that had a crappy week that I still believe in, I'm probably one of the only people left, but is Najee Harris. They were playing the Niners last week. Like, they ran the ball, I think, 10 times total.
Man, I hope you're right.
Depending on your league, he might be really easy to get off of someone.
Yeah.
Yep. If somebody's thicker at running back and no wide receivers, you have the team to make that happen for sure.
Yep. Marco, talking about my Wi-Fi, the FBI is probably listening too. Marco, the FBI is always listening. Be careful.
Shh, quiet. With Marcos should be more concerned about the CIA based on his address, I believe, than the FBI.
Yeah. Should I play Purdy or Fields? I also have McCaffrey. I'd stack Purdy with McCaffrey. I mean, Purdy's look damn good, and I'm not a Fields guy whatsoever. Sorry, Rick, but I'd start Purdy here. I don't care about the rushing upside that much.
Play Tampa and the 49ers play
the Rams. Right? No. Yeah, they play the Rams.
Yeah, they do. Give me Purdy.
Oh, man, what's going on in this world? I think I agree. I don't like either one of them. And Brock Purdy's day will come. I do still think the clock will strike midnight. I just don't think it's this week.
Okay. PPR, I trade Chase and Goddard. Mixon. Okay, so he's saying Chase and Goddard for Waller, AJ Brown, and Mixon is what it looks like. I'm going to steal one from Sully here and say you take the best player, which is Jamar Chase in this trade. And Goddard, I trust his health more than I trust Waller at tight end. So
Chase and Goddard for Waller. Traded Chase and Goddard for Waller, AJ Brown, and Waller again? Am I confused here?
It's supposed to be Mixon. The second Waller is supposed to be Mixon, I think.
So if it's redraft, I like the Waller, AJ Brown, Mixon side by a bunch.
Really?
Yeah, because what is Chase going to do with Goddard that Waller, Brown, and Mixon, who are all going to be in your starting lineup, aren't? Like, there's no way those two outscore those three, in my opinion, barring injury.
Well, that's the thing. I think Waller is more likely to get injured than any of the other players on this list. So then it's AJ Brown and Mixon for Chase and Goddard, and I want Chase and Goddard.
Yeah, I think you want Chase, right? And that's the driving force here. Yeah. But any player can go down at any time, and Goddard is far from a healthy, rock-solid tight end either. But playing the injury game is kind of crazy. But
agreed.
I just like those other three guys in a vacuum. I think they do.
Greg, break the tie. I'm probably going to be wrong here.
Yeah, I'm going to the side with more pieces on here because if you're balancing it out for a lineup, I want the three guys that I would conceivably be starting each week.
Exactly. They're all starting.
To Sully's point, Goddard hasn't shown much of anything.
Okay.
He has 8 points in 2 weeks.
Yeah, there you go.
Traded Pacheco and Ayuk for Chase. That's a good deal.
Well done.
Yeah, don't mind that one.
No, I'm still starting Mostert. I think Mostert's got – sorry, forgot I had Khalil Herbert. Would you start him over Mostert if Hopkins sits? No, I'm still starting Mostert.
Agree. Start Mostert while you can.
Sully, this is for you. Bro, is that an actual life-size Groot on the top of your bookshelf? Baby Groot.
That's my wife. She works in the theater industry, and Guardians of the Galaxy is a soft spot in our hearts, almost as much as Jurassic does to my friend below me. But no, that's a little baby Groot up there. Yeah, he's our guy.
Nice. All right, we got two more. Zach Reyna, start Zach Moss, Brees, or Miles Sanders. I think we all agreed earlier this was Brees because Zach Moss is not the answer over those two.
Yeah, when we had the three that we kind of beat our heads against the wall a bit, Monty was with Sanders and Brees, and I don't think Brees was sitting for any of us, so he's starting for me, I think.
Craigie?
I'm starting Brees.
Cool.
Sanders is the other one that Brees has a bigger playmaking ability to me.
Totally does. I was so wrong on him.
All right, last one. Would you stick with this team? Purdy, Fields, McCaffrey, ETN, Khalil Herbert, AJ, I'm assuming Brown, MT, Mike Evans, Kirk, and Waller. Yeah, I would. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that's. Geez,
that's
man.
a solid team.
What? I'm probably not as good at this as I thought because everybody's like, should I keep these guys? And I'm like, everybody's roster is better than my best roster. So yeah, like those are two great running backs, two really, really, really good wide receivers, a third one, a fourth one, tight end who's top 3 in my preseason rankings. And it's the quarterbacks I don't really love, but they're both going to produce. So I think you're fine.
Yeah. All right, we got one more. Craig, you anything to add on that?
Nope.
Start Montgomery or Gibbs this week at Seattle.
I have Gibbs ranked higher, so that's my answer.
I'll agree with that.
Dan Campbell's mentioned getting Gibbs involved more, this week. And with what we saw out of him, as far as looking better, even in the limited snaps, I would start Gibbs.
Cool. Well, that wraps up this week. You can find us on Twitter at RotoHeat Sully, at RotoHeat Craig, at FF Shane B, and at RotoHeat Fantasy. Again, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Turn on the bell for notifications, and someone will be here in the morning. I don't know. I think it's Rick and Bryce.
Rick and Bryce will kick it off, and then I'll pop in at some point, and Bryce will peel out, and we'll probably give Rick a bit of a break as well. So, tomorrow morning we'll try to give you guys the latest and who knows, latest and greatest in who's active, who's not, who to start. A lot of this again, so we'll just keep going. But thanks for having me, guys. It's a ton of fun. Thanks, I don't get to do this with you guys very often. Appreciate it. Right?
Yeah, same here. I'm just popping in for fun here the past few weeks, so cool. Good to be on with you, Sully.
Oh, Craig, we don't do this enough.